And we move on to our next session, which is titled Education as a Master Key to a Stronger India. And we are joined by some very intellectually and people who have worked in that field and have proven their mettle. And we are joined by distinguished speakers. But before we head on to the next session, I would thank all our distinguished panelists who have joined for this session. And we would go ahead with the next session with a small video which has been compiled together with good wishes from students, colleagues, and friends from across different countries in the world. I would request my tech team to please go ahead and play the video. Thank you.
تشکر از جنبش مردمی جایهند برای فرصت جهانی. مرسی.
എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. ഇന്നത്തെ കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ അങ്ങേയറ്റം പ്രാധാന്യമുള്ള ഗാന്ധിയൻ ചിന്തകൾ പങ്കുവെക്കുവാൻ ഉള്ള വേദിയാണിത്. നന്ദി.
Amanya gange zezimbe fanaya munamateeko okuva mu Africa ndi musanyufu okwegatta ku conference y'omwaka guno era ng'obwavu obukyayi obumenyi bw'amateeka n'entalo nnyingi nnyo ekwetoola ensi yonna tulina okukola ekintu kimu okusaasaanya obubaka obwa Mahatma Gandhi. Nja kuba musanyufu nnyo okuba nammwe ku conference ya Omukaaga. Balindiridde mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala.
जयहिंद लोक चळवळीच्या या दुसऱ्या जागतिक परिषदेत सहभागी होताना मला खूप आनंद होत आहे. गांधी ही भारताला जगाने दिलेली सर्वात मोठी देणगी आहे. आता जगात ज्या प्रकारे हिंसा, द्वेष वाढत आहे त्यातून होणारा विनाश टाळायचा असेल तर गांधी विचारच त्याला एकमेव उत्तर आहे.
Thank you, Jaihind People's Movement for this global platform.
Xin chào, tôi tên là Lương Khánh Duy, tôi hiện làm nghiên cứu sinh tại Đại học Wayne State University, bang Michigan, Hoa Kỳ. Tôi rất vui khi được tham dự cuộc hội thảo trực tuyến lần 2 được tổ chức bởi Jaihind People's Movement, nơi mà tất cả chúng ta đến từ các quốc gia khác nhau đều hội tụ tại đây với mong muốn là hòa bình, sự hợp tác và phát triển của tất cả các dân tộc trên thế giới. Một lần nữa thì tôi xin cảm ơn Jaihind People's Movement đã tổ chức cuộc hội thảo này.
ప్రపంచంలో శాంతిని పురోగతిని సుస్థిరతను సాధించడానికి ప్రపంచ దేశాలను ఒక తాటిపైకి రావాలి.
第2回 Jaihind People's Movement のグローバルカンファレンスで世界中の人たちとバーチャルでつながれるのを楽しみにしています。
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਦੇਸ਼ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਕੋਨੇ-ਕੋਨੇ ਤੋਂ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸੈਕੰਡ ਵਿਰਚੁਅਲ ਗਲੋਬਲ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਜੈ ਹਿੰਦ ਪੀਪਲਸ ਮੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਚਲਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੇ ਹੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਲੋਕੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਥਾਟ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੋਕ ਥਾਟ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਔਰ ਸੁਣੋਗੇ, ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਸ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਜਨਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਸਹੀ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ 'ਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਬਣਿਆ। ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਏ ਹੋ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਨਾ, ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਔਰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੋਰ ਜੈ ਹਿੰਦ ਪੀਪਲ ਮੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ 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 ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਸੈਕੰਡ ਵਿਰਚੁਅਲ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਗਲੋਬਲ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚਾਲੂ ਕੀਤਾ।
Thank you, friends, for your good wishes. I thank you all for being a wonderful audience. I sign off as your moderator for this session. I invite Honorable Gitanjali ji and Dr. Vaishnavi Kirat to please take over the stage for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Utkarsha ji. It was indeed a great and insightful session. Good evening, everyone. I, Gitanjali Sherke, welcome you all for our 6th session of second virtual global conference, coming together for peace, harmony, and progress. Today, we are gonna speak on the topic education, master key to stronger India. Education has a vital role to play in the developing the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values that enable people to contribute to and benefit from an inclusive and sustainable future. Learning to form clear and purposeful goals, work with others with different perspectives, find untapped opportunities, and identify multiple solutions to big problems will be essential in the coming years. Education needs to aim to do more than prepare young people for the world of work. It needs to equip students with the skills that need to become active, responsible, and engaged citizens. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, once said that what is really needed to make democracy function is not the knowledge of facts, but right education. Jaihind is also working in the education sector through different programs like after-school programs, pre-primary education, and online coaching to 1,000 girls for preparing them for future scientists. Now I welcome our first guest of this session, Education Master Key to Stronger India, Dr. Anil Kumar ji. Dr. Anil Kumar has been a practicing urologist in the Metro Detroit area for the past 30 years. He received his BS degree, Bachelor of Medicine, and Master of Surgery education from the university in the Department of Urology. Dr. Kumar has been dedicated to serving the medical field through his practice and by teaching medical students and residents. His primary aim is reform and healthcare and education. I welcome you, sir, and open the stage for you. I would request my tech team to take Kumar, sir, on the screen.
Well, let me first thank you very much for that introduction. It is indeed a great honor for me to be able to be part of this great conference. And I really congratulate and thank the people who have organized the Jaihind movement. As Indians, we are proud of what Gandhiji has done in the world. And I think getting a movement to get education and other aspects of life in the Gandhian movement is a great tribute to your hard work. So again, let me also thank our local person, Navnath Gawande, who is part of our university. So I am so proud of him and the others that have managed to arrange for this conference. My background is, as you pointed out, I am from Maharashtra, grew up in Mumbai, and of course I went to schools. I went to a Catholic school and St. Xavier's College. Then I went to TN Medical for my education. I left the country, came over to the US, practiced as a urologist. But then something happened that in healthcare, and since my kids were in education, that I realized there is much more to be done in the field of education and healthcare. So I really actually decided to go into politics and to see if I can change the world as such. It is based on that I was elected as one of the board of governors of Wayne State University. So full disclosure, I'm not a pure academician. I am an academician in terms of medical education because I am a faculty and a site director for urology program, but my knowledge may be limited in terms of other aspects of education. In the same vein, let me also explain to you that I do have a clear understanding of where education should be, both in the US and in India. In the US, the reason we have not as much of a problem for education is that our primary schools and secondary schools are free of charge and mandated. And more importantly, although there is some disparity between the education in some suburban schools versus urban schools, I am from Detroit, and Wayne State University, which is the university I am part of, is in Detroit City, which is urban. And so even in the US, we see a great disparity in the educational standards between these socioeconomically different locations. Even so, the education is given to pretty much 90% plus children. In India, and it might have changed, and I do apologize if my knowledge is antique, but when I was growing up, education had a great schism. So those that went to private schools got very well educated. I am very proud of the education that I received in India. Um, but at the same time, the masses, the rural places and others were not given the same benefit. And so that is, this topic is, how do you compare the two systems of education? But more importantly, what do we do to improve education in India? And one of the speakers earlier mentioned how little GDP we have for education. That will be the key to promoting education for all. So there has to be a universality of education as a right and as a duty, so that all our kids are educated. But also our great attempt has to be at the equality of quality. That means the quality in the rural, small little village of what education is given should match, at least come close to the ones in the better private schools of the cities. That would be a very needed change that we need in India. In the US, okay, after high school, the kids go to college, and they go to college for 4 years, liberal arts, and then we go into the specialized courses or graduate education, such as medicine and engineering, etc., technical aspects. In India, however, we, as far as I did, we branched off right from high school or 1 or 2 years of college to technical schools. And I think that is superior in India than what we have in the US, because our kids in the US end up wasting 4 years of their lives and then going to schools or graduate schools into learning how to make bread. So I think we need to preserve that in India in terms of getting kids into specialty education or graduate education at an earlier age. The other aspect of Indian education is that technically, and I can tell you as a physician who was educated in India, in Mumbai, I did not lack any education in medicine that my counterparts or students in the US had obtained in their education. As a matter of fact, a number of times I felt my education in India was far superior, because not only did we learn the book knowledge, but the practical aspects of how to treat people, the humanity, the compassion, the not financial aspect of practicing medicine was so unique in India that I could never find it in the US. Going to the other side of the spectrum, once you come out as practicing physicians, in India, we have no controls of checks and balances of how the physicians keep and maintain quality that they give to the patients. Whereas in the US, there are systems that we have to get continuing education. We are monitored by all sorts of agencies as to what quality we provide to our patients. And we are taken to the laundry by the lawyers if we do something that is not correct. I will come back from medical education to general education. Liberal arts is lacking in India. So those that are going into education of specialties, medicine, etc., are not exposed to liberal arts, philosophy, and the civil sciences, politics. I think that should be part of the high school education in India, so that early deviation into specialty education would still give them the knowledge of the general aspects of life. The one thing that I would say about what reform we need to make in India, which I mentioned earlier, is mandatory free uniform quality of education. Undergraduates, as I mentioned, we have to concentrate on liberal arts. But most importantly, I think in India, as well as in the children of Indian community or diaspora in America, we need to educate our children with our values that our country has portended for centuries. I think that is lacking, and that is what makes our kids and us as Indians not have the identity which we need to project in this world. Not having the identity gives us less confidence and less ability to be ourselves. And more importantly, if we teach our kids what our culture and heritage has been through the centuries, then we can also teach the world how to live in peace, because India has been the country that has never invaded another country. We have accepted all sorts of religions and persecuted peoples into our land. So I think I will close with that I don't really think our educational system in India is any way inferior than anywhere else, but it does require that we universalize our education. Because when I was listening to, for example, our speakers in the last session, I was so impressed with Arpita Datta. She spoke so beautifully. I mean, there is not too many of our kids in the US that can excel her in what she promoted or talked about. So I don't think there is a problem in India of education. I think it's a problem of reaching out to majority of the Indian community to be able to attain that. And I will still always promote that we need to teach ourselves the values of our past and ourselves to get an identity for which we are proud, and we want to educate the rest of the world as to who we are and how we can learn to live in peace. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here.
It was indeed a pleasure to hear your views and experience, sir. Dr. Anil Kumar ji is from Mumbai, Maharashtra. He had a strong urge to work for education. अनिल कुमारजी यांनी खूप सुंदर असे मुद्दे मांडलेले आहेत जे सांगणे गरजेचे आहे. त्यांच्यामध्ये प्रायमरी आणि प्री प्रायमरी एज्युकेशन हे भारतात आणि बाकीच्या देशांत सुद्धा म्हणजे सर्वत्रच हे मोफत दिले गेले पाहिजे. त्यांच्या मते सर्व स्तरांतील मुलांना त्याचा लाभ मिळेल आणि शैक्षणिक क्षेत्रात शिक्षणाला क्वालिटी आणि समानता ही असली पाहिजे. आजकालच्या मुलांमध्ये व्हॅल्यूज ची आपण कमी बघतोय, तर त्या दृष्टीने सुद्धा शिक्षकांनी आणि पालकांनी दोन्हीही प्रयत्नशील असलं पाहिजे. I thank you so much, sir, for sparing valuable time for us and joining in. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.